Today looks like it's going to be BCM day. My friend brought me two separate style and types of GM BCMs. One I believe is for a truck, maybe like Escalade or something. This one's for a Hummer. And so I am going to clone some used ones that he got, and we're going to use two different tools to do both of them. Alright guys, so first of all we've got to identify the BCM that we've got, and in order for me to do that I had to open it up and locate the EEPROM, which is this guy here, and then this is the main processor, and between those, reading the numbers, you come up with the correct choice that you need. In the past I have done this type and style where I've had to do it directly off the EEPROM, and I've had to remove, desolder, read it, and then solder back on for both the original and donor. This is my first time. We are going to use I'm going to use the Obdstar and go via bench, and supposedly this tool will be able to do that, so that's why we are going to go this route with this BCM, this tool. So let's just to show you, that's where your connections are, all on the front face. And so let's get started. Double check the guide. This will tell us what adapters to use. So we have the correct setup with the P004. We'll hit start, and yes, bench, and yes with that. So that's a new feature, I guess, that they're put in. There was an update that I installed yesterday. Let's go ahead. Alright, so we're in. Let's start with connect. Alright, so usually this will give you prompts to power up the 004 unit. Obviously it didn't tell us, but let's go ahead and power it up and try that again. Okay, so I've gone ahead and read the external EEPROM and then the internal flash. Nothing crazy there, just press the buttons, let it do its thing, save and back up both of the memories or whatever, the data. The one thing that it looks like this tool brings up, which is pretty cool, it's info you just clearly cannot get when either you just transfer the EEPROM completely, or you just read the EEPROM data chip and move it, clone it to the other chip. You just won't automatically get any of this info pulled up for you in this it's called easy manner or way. As far as what I'm talking about is these little options here. So obviously when you're connected and so on and so forth, if you see this, so you read a pin code, and it clearly pulls up a pin code for this BCM. We can write that down, and then there's also, looks like, option 4, changing VIN. So, but in order to change it, it needs to pull up the VIN that's in it now. So you can also write that down. And the odometer, it pulls up a mileage as well from the BCM. Obviously I am not here to change any of that because I want to just transfer all the information, make a one-for-one clone with the used unit. And so for this time and moment, I'm not needing to do any of that, but that option and stuff is there, which there could be times where you might need to change the VIN or the odometer, so on and so forth, and this tool can help you with that. Now, I'm not going to click Reset ECU. I would hope that there's a second confirmation step, and I don't know 100% if it turns it to, I don't want to say a virgin or what it's going to reset, so on and so forth. So until the customer has his BCM back, so on and so forth, maybe I'll mess around with if I get to keep one of these and see what that option there is. So with that, not much more other than to connect to the other one and move the information over. Okay, so made connections to the donor, and first I'm going to read it and then I'll write it. Another, again, cool thing with this tool, since we're going bench and just needing to connect through the face, there really is no need to open it unless we need to read and identify those numbers on the EEPROM and the microprocessor. But with that, I've got that info written here. So what I want to do is I'm going to read this original information. I probably will save it. And with that, we'll read this guy's pin code, VIN, and mileage. And once we write it over, we'll reread those three items, and we should pull this up if everything was done successful. So it's a secure way of knowing you got the job done right. So we'll go ahead and connect. Okay, so we've made a good connection. And let's see if we can read pin code before reading any of the data. All right, so we can. So let me write that down. The VIN. And mileage. So I'll go ahead and spare you some time, and in the background I will read this module's info and bring you guys back. Okay, so now we will go ahead and write to the donor. All right, looks like it wrote the EEPROM pretty quick and successfully. Now we will write the flash. All right, so as you can see down here in the bottom, the flash writing was successful. So I guess moment of truth. Let's read the pin code. So if you remember, original one is that. This is what this one had, so we expect to see 1492. All right, perfect. And let's go to the VIN. So the original one started with 1G4, ended 84788. 1G4 and ends in 4788. So perfect. Everything looks to have transferred over properly. And lastly, kilometers, 277,859. All right, perfect. So we have now, let's see, let's hit disconnect so we don't cause anything. Yes. And we will turn our power supply off before we disconnect. So we have just successfully made a 1-for-1 clone with the Obdstar. First time doing it. In the past, again, I have had to do EEPROM work where I've had to remove it, so on and so forth. So this is a whole lot easier, convenient, and also very cool to see verification by being able to pull up all that info right there on the, let's call it front page of the tools processing option there. So with that, that concludes this type of BCM. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I've got another set of BCM to do, which is this. This is the original. This is the part number for it, and we are going to have to use the Autel. Unfortunately, this one, I could not find this type of BCM in the tool, so we'll go with reading EEPROM with Autel. Alright guys, so again, like I said, we're going to use the Autel for this one. And the EEPROM, I am going to try to read it in circuit. Again, I have done this style also beforehand and had to mess around with the EEPROM itself, that guy right there. But I'm going to try with this cable. It's a push pin cable, they call it. So you kind of just go over the EEPROM, hold it there while it reads. It's supposed to make it a little bit easier to read and write the without having to remove it, which it's not the biggest pain, but I want to see if we can get it done with this. The Autel unit does come with its own clip type cable, and I've never ever got that to work and read in circuit properly. So, and I actually ended up damaging it because I was trying to modify it for the pins to make better contact, but that's damaged. So I ordered this one. Gonna try and see if this one works any better, and then kind of go from there. Now, the best way to do it to make sure you're not getting corrupted reads is to set your verification, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So we'll get started. I'm in the programmer section already of the tool. We'll go EEPROM, and I've already identified this chip. It's gonna go, you're gonna pick ST and then M95, and it's an 040. We'll go EEPROM, and again, this is where you go. Go to set, pick yes, set your verification, and when you pick on or yes, whatever you want to call it, you're asking the tool to do basically double read and check itself on both the reads to make sure that both match up and are the same data being pulled both times, which can secure you in knowing that the one you're gonna save is a correct uncorrupted reading. I've had trouble in the past with the PC portion or version of the Autel programmer. It doesn't have the verification. At least I haven't found it on there, and it's each time I read an EEPROM on there here lately, I was trying to do a forward. It kept reading a different read each time and writing something different each time. So that was frustrating. So here also I've set it on for the writing process. Again, it double does the job to make sure everything is done correctly. So this is just an added level of security, insurance, reliability, and confidence in that whatever work you're doing is going to be as best as you can do and can provide, especially if these are sent in modules, which again, these are my friends, but it's at his shop. He's about 45 minutes away, so I want to make sure he doesn't have to come back or me have to go up there. And so at this point, let me get set up with this new connector and see if I can get this read. Okay, so I'm going to try and show you this one-handed without messing anything up, because you have to hold this on here. So I believe I've got it on there, and it's connected over there in the tool. Oh, it just came off. let me clip it back on. And again, this is my first time dealing with this one, or a push style type of clip connector. So let's see what happens. Alright, so I'm not on there properly. Well, I gave that fabulous new push clip about 10 tries. And by that time I realized that it was a waste of time and I'm gonna have to take the chip off anyways. So kinda disappointed that that new clip didn't allow me to read it. It's just very flimsy, and it kinda doesn't like to sit on all the legs properly. So back to hot air work. As always, I like to just mark the way it sits just for a quick reference. And just for the sake of time, and since my friend doesn't really care, I think I'm just going to move the chip over and not do any reading. I don't know, we'll see, but we got to get this original one off first, obviously, and go from there. Alright, so there's that. Smoking hot chip. And obviously you want to inspect it, make sure nothing crazy with it, no water damage, no burnt areas. You want to make sure hardware looks good. And so far everything looks okay. So we'll go ahead and take this chip off. All right. So get this cleaned up, move over the chip, and get this one done. All right, well, curiosity's gotten the best out of me, so I'm gonna read the chips just to read them. Nothing wrong with that. So let's go ahead and just read. I guess that way I can show you about the verification process. So there's one read, there's the second read. So if it does that and brings up data, then that means it was a good, clean read, no corruption, no verification errors. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'll read the other one.